From the story, human student volunteers to demonstrate human anatomy in biology project, and everyone is shocked. Ethan sat at the back of the classroom, quiet and still. His hands rested on the desk, fingers slightly trembling. He was the only human in the room and in the entire school. All around him were alien girls. Some had glowing skin, others had long pointed ears or strange colored eyes. But all of them had one thing in common. They kept glancing at him with curious stares. The Intergalactic Academy was known across galaxies. Only the brightest minds could enter. Ethan had passed the entrance tests with high scores. But now, being here, he felt like a strange animal placed in a room full of beautiful, curious creatures. The classroom door slid shut with a soft click, and the teacher, Professor Zelia, entered. She had smooth silver skin and two antennae that twitched slightly as she looked over the students. Today, she said in a clear voice, "We will begin our biology project." The room grew silent. For this project, we need a live subject from one species to volunteer. The rest of the class will study the subject's basic anatomy. Most alien girls began to look at each other. Some giggled. Some avoided eye contact. No one raised their hand. Professor Zelia continued. It must be someone comfortable enough to reveal and explain their body structure. Still silence. Then, slowly, a hand rose. It was Ethan. All eyes turned toward him. His heart pounded in his chest, but he kept his hand up. "I'll do it," he said. Gasps filled the room. Even the professor looked surprised. "You are sure, Mr. Ethan?" He nodded. "Yes, I don't mind." Professor Zelia hesitated, then gave a soft nod. "Very well. Come to the front." Ethan stood up. His legs felt heavy as he walked between the rows of desks. The alien girls stared at him, some with amusement, others with wide, unblinking eyes. One even whispered, "Is he really going to show?" All that, Ethan reached the front. He turned to face the class. His back straightened. His hands moved to the buttons on his uniform shirt. "Begin when ready," the professor said. Stepping aside, Ethan took a breath and removed his shirt. A wave of stunned silence fell over the room. The alien girls stared. Some mouths hung open. A few dropped their pens. One girl, with blue hair even, stopped breathing for a second. Ethan's skin was smooth, his muscles defined but not too large. His chest rose and fell with each breath. To human eyes, he looked normal. But to the alien girls, he looked different. Unusual. Exotic. Professor Zelia broke the silence. "As you can see, humans have a bilateral body structure. Now, let's begin our observation. Please take notes." The class didn't move. "Class?" the professor asked again. A girl in the front blinked fast. "Sorry, Professor. I was observing deeply." Another girl said, "His muscles are more detailed than our books showed." A third whispered, "Why is it warm in here suddenly?" Ethan heard it all, but kept his face straight. The professor stepped closer. "Ethan, would you be comfortable answering questions about your body?" He nodded. A purple-skinned girl with wide yellow eyes raised her hand. "Is it true that humans have only one heart? And where exactly is it located?" Ethan smiled gently and pointed to his chest. "Here." On the left side, another girl asked, "Can I see it beat? Just to observe." He sighed. "Okay." He placed her hand gently over his chest. The moment she felt the steady thump of his heart, her eyes widened. "It's real." A small wave of whispers and giggles passed through the class. Ethan looked at them. Their expressions had changed. Just curiosity anymore, but admiration. Even awe. He turned to the professor. "Is this okay?" Professor Zelia smiled slightly. "You've just taught them something no textbook could." But not everyone looked happy. One alien girl sitting in the last row had her arms crossed. Her eyes were narrowed and her cheeks flushed. She whispered under her breath, "Why him?" "Ethan." stood shirtless in front of the class, his chest rising and falling with slow breaths. The silence was almost heavy now. No one blinked. No one spoke. The alien girls from different planets and species stared at him like he was some rare creature, something too strange to ignore. Professor Zelia finally spoke, trying to bring order back to the class. "Students, focus. Please continue your notes." The girls jumped slightly and looked down, pretending to write something. But their eyes kept lifting back to Ethan. Trina sat in the middle row. She was a higher-ranking student from the planet Veltra, known for its cold weather and sharp-eyed people. Her skin was pale lavender, her long silver hair neatly tied behind her head, and her blue eyes locked on Ethan. She wasn't like the others who whispered and giggled. She was silent, but her stare was sharp and intense. Ethan noticed her. Unlike the others, she didn't smile or blush. Her expression was hard to read. "Ethan," the professor said gently, "please turn around. We'll study your back muscles." Now he nodded and slowly turned. A few girls leaned forward to get a better look. One accidentally dropped her stylus on the floor and didn't even bother picking it up. "Note the muscle structure here," Professor Zelia said, pointing with a laser stick. "Human bodies are surprisingly balanced. The muscle development appears natural, not genetically enhanced." Suddenly, a voice from the side whispered, "Can we touch?" For research, the professor paused. "With the subject's permission." Ethan hesitated. "It's okay, as long as it's just for study." That was all they needed. A green-skinned girl approached him first. Her fingers trembled slightly as she placed her hand on his shoulder. "Warm, so warm," she whispered. Others followed. One touched his back, another gently poked at his bicep. "It's soft but strong, so flexible, it feels alive." Ethan stood still, unsure how to feel. He didn't want to be rude, but it was strange to be touched like this by so many alien girls. Then a loud tap echoed. It was Trina. Her pen hit the desk sharply. "Are we here to study?" she said coldly. "Or to fawn over him like animals?" The room went quiet. The professor looked at her. "Trina, this is part of biology. It's natural curiosity." "Curiosity is fine," Trina said, "but this looks more like obsession." Several girls looked embarrassed and stepped back. Ethan turned to face Trina. "You don't have to participate if you're not interested." "I'm not," she replied, standing up. "I've already memorized human anatomy from the archives. I don't need to touch you to know how many ribs you have." She walked out of the room, her footsteps sharp and confident. The class remained silent. Ethan exhaled slowly and sat on the examination bench. Professor Zelia cleared her throat. "Let's take a short break. Return in 10 minutes." As the students started talking softly and standing up, a tall girl with blue skin sat next to Ethan. "You were brave," she said kindly. "Most beings would never stand up like that. Especially not in a room full of strangers." "Thanks," Ethan replied. "I didn't expect it to turn into whatever this was. It's not your fault. You're just different." He looked around. The girls weren't laughing anymore. They were curious, but also respectful now. Like they understood he wasn't just some object to study. He was a person. Still, something about Trina's words stuck in his mind. Why did she react that way? As the bell chimed, the class returned. Professor Zelia smiled. "Before we end today's session, I want to run a small genetic scan. It's harmless, just a reading to compare species bioenergy levels." She turned on the small bioscanner and waved it over Ethan's chest. Beep, beep, beep. The screen flashed red. A message appeared. "Biolock detected level 1 match initiated." The professor froze. "What does that mean?" Ethan asked. The class leaned in. Professor Zelia's voice was quiet. "It means your body has created a biolock signal." It's an ancient compatibility alert between two life forms. Ethan looked confused. With who? The professor checked the scanner, and her eyes widened. She slowly turned the scanner toward the screen. Match, Ethan human, Trina Veltron. Alien the room gasped. Even Ethan stood up. Wait her. She walked out. Professor Zelia looked concerned. This is not just biology. This is cultural. A biolock is rare. It means you two are biologically compatible for mating. Ethan's eyes went wide. What? Ethan stared at the glowing red screen. Biolock detected level 1 match initiated. Match Ethan human. Trina Veltron alien. His mouth went dry. Around him, the alien girls whispered rapidly, eyes wide, confused and amazed. Professor? Zelia looked tense, her silver fingers hovering above the scanner. She took a slow breath before speaking again. This is very rare. Extremely rare. A biolock is not just physical compatibility. It's deeper, biological, emotional. Sometimes even spiritual. I don't understand, Ethan said. What does this mean for me and Trina? The professor looked at him carefully. It means your DNA and hers recognized each other at a core level. In ancient Veltran culture, a level 1 biolock was seen as a soul connection, a bond that cannot be ignored. The room grew quiet. One of the alien girls raised her hand. Voice trembling. Does this mean he's her mate? The professor hesitated. In traditional terms, yes, but only if both accept the bond. Ethan's eyes widened in panic. But I don't even know her. And she walked out of the room. Another girl added. Professor Zelia nodded. Come everyone. Biolocks are rare, but they are not forced. Trina may choose to reject it. Ethan may do the same. However, the Academy will have to report this to the Veltron royal family. Royal family? Ethan repeated. She's royalty. The professor looked at him, surprised. You didn't know? He shook his head. Professor Zelia turned off the scanner. Trina Veltron is not just a student. She's the first daughter of the Veltron High Council. Her father is one of the most powerful leaders in this galaxy. Ethan's heart sank. The whispers in the room grew louder. Some of the girls looked jealous. Others looked concerned. What if he gets taken away? They'll never allow a human to be near their royal blood. He's just a biology volunteer, not a king. Ethan stood frozen in place. He felt like the ground beneath him was disappearing. Meanwhile, Trin walked fast through the Academy's garden path. Her steps stiff and angry. She didn't like attention. She didn't like surprises. And she definitely didn't like that. Scanner revealing something she didn't choose. She reached the quiet garden chamber behind the class halls and sat down on a floating bench. Her breath was sharp. Her fingers were shaking. No, it can't be true, she whispered to herself. But her chest was warm to warm. That was the first sign of a biolock in her species. A connection, real and ancient, and it had chosen him, that human boy, with his strange confidence, his kind eyes, his soft, warm skin. She shook her head, forcing the thoughts away. Her wrist. Communicator beeped. A red icon blinked. It was her father. Not now, she whispered, turning it off. Back in the classroom, Professor Zelia ended the session early. She told Ethan to return to his dorm and wait for further instructions. Ethan walked back through the halls in silence. Everywhere he went, students stared. Some smiled. Others whispered. A few even followed him from a distance. He reached his private dorm room and locked the door. Sitting on the edge of his bed, he held his head in his hands. What did I do? He whispered. I just wanted to help. Just show anatomy, not marry an alien princess. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Tap, tap, go away. Ethan muttered tap. Tap, he sighed, and opened the door. It was Trina. She stood there, alone. Her silver hair glowing softly under the hallway lights. Her face was calm, but her eyes held something more. Something serious and unsure. "Can I come in?" she asked. Ethan nodded slowly and stepped aside. She entered the room and stood near the small desk. "I didn't ask for this," she said quietly. "Neither did I," Ethan replied. For a moment, they both stayed silent. Then she turned toward him. "But the scan doesn't lie. I felt it too. The moment I touched your chest, the heat, the thump of your heart. My blood shifted, my pulse changed. It only happens when a biolock forms," Ethan finished softly. Trina nodded. He looked at her. "What does this mean for you? What happens now?" She hesitated. "If I accept it, I'm bound to you. My people will demand a bonding ceremony. You'll be taken to my planet, trained in royal customs, and eventually married." Ethan's face turned pale. "That sounds like a lot." Trina stepped closer. "But if I reject it, it could affect my status, my reputation. Biolocks are sacred. Breaking one is like turning away from fate." She looked him in the eyes. "What would you choose, Ethan?" He didn't answer. He simply looked at her and saw not a princess, not an alien, but a girl just as lost and confused as he was. Lethan didn't sleep that night. He lay on his dorm bed, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts spun in every direction. Trina's words echoed in his head again and again. "If I accept it, we're bound. If I reject it, I lose everything." It wasn't just a school project anymore. He was now caught between alien tradition and something he never even understood. He rolled over and looked at the door where she had stood just hours ago, elegant and scared beneath her strong appearance. And now, the whole school knew. Next morning, the academy's halls were buzzing. Screens all over the building played footage from the classroom. Than standing at the front, shirtless, as the scanner beeped and the biolock alert flashed. Someone had recorded everything. Human boy matched with Princess Trina. First biolock in 300 years. Will the human become royal consort? Ethan kept his head low as he walked through the halls. Students stared. Some smiled. A few giggled, but others, especially alien boys, didn't look happy. He heard whispers as he passed. "Why him? Doesn't deserve her. He's just lucky biology chose for him." He tried to block it all out. Inside the classroom, Professor Zelia stood by the front screen, looking serious. "Class," she said, "due to yesterday's unexpected discovery, we've received a special request from the Galactic Science Board. They want to study Ethan more closely." Ethan blinked. "What?" The professor nodded. "They want you to demonstrate your anatomy again, but this time in the central amphitheater. You'll be the full subject for study." "What does that mean?" he asked slowly. "It means," the professor explained, "you're now the project." The alien girls gasped softly. One raised her hand, excited. "Will we be allowed to observe?" "Yes," the professor replied. "All students are invited." Ethan froze. Trina wasn't in class. He wanted to ask about her, but didn't. Single quotes. Later that day, Ethan was taken to the central amphitheater. It was a large open space, half lab, half stage, with hundreds of seats filled with students, teachers, and even alien reporters. Bright lights shone down on the center platform. A floating holoscreen showed Ethan's vital signs, DNA scans, and bone structure from yesterday. A robotic voice echoed. Subject, human male. Species, Homo sapiens. Status, biolock match confirmed. Allele. Ethan stood at the center, nervous, shirt removed once again. He looked around, but Trina wasn't there. Alien scientists approached him, carefully scanning his arms, spine, heart, and nervous system. The audience was silent, but eyes were wide. A female voice whispered somewhere in the crowd, "He's beautiful." Another said, "It's not just the outside. His energy signature is unique." For the first time, Ethan felt like more than just a student. He was being seen, really seen. His body, his DNA, his heartbeat. All of it was now part of something far bigger. Suddenly, a loud voice rang out. "Stop this nonsense." Everyone. Turned at the entrance of the amphitheater stood Trina. Her silver hair flowed around her shoulders, and her violet royal robe shimmered with authority. She walked down the steps slowly. Her eyes locked on Ethan. "I won't let him be treated like a lab creature," she said firmly. "He's a student, a person, not just a body." The room fell silent. One of the scientists stepped forward. "Princess Trina, this research is vital. You have enough data," she cut in. "You don't need to strip his dignity for more." She walked onto the platform, stopping just inches from Ethan. Her eyes softened. "You didn't choose this. Neither did I, but I won't let them turn you into a thing." Ethan looked at her, heart pounding. "Why did you come back?" She took a slow breath. "Because I finally understood. I don't need a tradition to tell me how I feel." The audience watched in stunned silence. Trina turned to the crowd. "If you want to study a connection, then study this." She reached for Ethan's hand, held it. Gasps echoed through the room. Her touch was warm, steady, not forced, not ordered. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. A soft blue light glowed around their joined fingers. The biolock had stabilized. Later that evening, news spread across the academy and beyond. The princess chose the human not because of biology, but because of choice. And while Ethan didn't know what tomorrow would bring, for the first time, he didn't feel alone. He wasn't just the human in class. He was the human who changed everything. That evening, the academy halls were unusually quiet. No more whispers. No more stares. The news had spread galaxy-wide. Princess Trina had held hands with the human in front of everyone. And the biolock glow had confirmed it. Not just compatibility, but acceptance. Ethan sat by the window in the student lounge, staring out at the floating lanterns drifting through the academy gardens. His shirt was finally back on, and he appreciated the silence. But his heart wouldn't stop racing. He had held her hand in front of everyone, and it had felt real. Suddenly, the lounge door slid open. Trina walked in. She wasn't in her royal robes this time, just her academy uniform. Her silver hair was loose, and her expression calm but thoughtful. "Hey," Ethan said softly. She nodded. "Hey." He stood, unsure whether to bow or shake her hand. "Relax," she said, almost smiling. "We're off duty now." He laughed lightly. "I wasn't sure what to do. I've never been chosen by an alien princess before." She walked closer and sat on the seat across from him. "I've never accepted a biolock before, so we're even." They sat quietly for a moment. Then Trina spoke again, her voice lower. "I was scared. Yesterday, today too." "You didn't look scared," Ethan said. "I was," she replied. "Do you know what happens on Veltra when a biolock is ignored?" He shook his head. "The bonded pair, both of them, get sick. Emotionally. Mentally, it affects sleep, focus, even memory. It's like if your body misses something it never had." Ethan leaned forward. "So you felt something?" "Even before the scan." Trina nodded slowly. "When I touched your chest in class, I felt your heart beat. Not just in your body, but in me." She looked up at him, eyes glowing faintly under the soft room lights. "I walked out because I didn't want to feel that." Ethan stayed quiet, letting her speak. "I've trained my whole life to be strong, smart, in control. I never expected a human to show up and flip my entire system upside down just by taking off his shirt." He blushed. "I didn't mean to cause all that." "I know," she said. "And that's why I came back. Because you didn't try to win me. You didn't even want this." Trina looked down at her fingers. "All my life, people tried to get close to me for power, for politics. But you?" She looked up again. "You were just being you. Honest, awkward, brave." Ethan chuckled. "I didn't feel brave. You were," she insisted. "You stood up when no one else did. You let people study you even when they made you uncomfortable. You didn't lash out. You didn't walk away." Silence again. A gentle, comfortable silence. Then Trina asked softly, "Ethan, do you feel anything? I mean, really?" He took a breath. "I don't know what a biologue feels like. I've never bonded with anyone, not even on Earth. But when you held my hand today, I didn't feel like a science project. I felt like a person. I felt seen." Trina's lips curled into a tiny smile. "Good. But," he added carefully, "this is all moving fast. 1 minute, I'm the quiet human kid in a classroom. The next, I'm being matched to an alien royal family." She nodded in agreement. "We don't have to rush. Beltran law only demands recognition, not marriage." "Not yet." "That's a relief," Ethan laughed. "But there's something else you should know," Trina said, suddenly serious. "What?" "My father's coming. Tomorrow?" Ethan's smile faded. "Oh, he received the biologue alert and wants to see you himself. And he's not, ... easy. I imagine most space emperors aren't. He'll ask questions," she warned. "He'll test you, maybe even insult you. He doesn't trust easily." Ethan sighed. "Well, can't turn back now." "No," she agreed. "You can't, but you're not alone anymore." He looked at her, surprised. She leaned closer, voice steady. "If I've accepted the bond, then I'll defend it. I'll defend you." His chest tightened. For the first time, he saw her not as a powerful alien girl or a princess but just a person, willing to stand beside him. "Thanks, Trina," he said quietly. She stood and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned and smiled softly. "Get some rest, human. Tomorrow, you meet the man who might let you live, ... or ruin your future." The door closed behind her. Ethan sat back down, hands in his lap. "Great," he muttered. "Now I'm the anatomy project and future son-in-law." The next morning felt heavier than usual. The academy sky, normally bright with twin suns, was overcast, as if even the sky knew something serious was coming. Students gathered in the halls, whispering and pointing toward the main landing pad. Ships were arriving. Not just normal academy transports, but royal cruisers, black and silver. Marked with the crest of Veltra, the Veltran Emperor had arrived. Ethan stood inside the briefing chamber, his palms sweating. He had dressed in the academy's finest formal uniform, clean, white with a deep blue sash. He looked into the mirror but didn't recognize himself. "I look like someone pretending to be important," he muttered. There was a knock on the door. It was Trina. She looked calm, elegant, and strong. Her royal robes shimmered like liquid moonlight, but her eyes told a different story. Even she was nervous. "He's waiting," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "Let's go disappoint your father together." She smirked. "Let's try not to." The meeting hall was quiet, too quiet. Royal guards lined the walls, their armor glowing with ancient energy. In the center stood the emperor, tall, cold, powerful. His skin was pale silver, like Trina's, but his presence felt heavy, like gravity. His eyes were sharp, almost glowing. His long coat moved without wind, and his hands were clasped behind his back. Trina stepped forward and bowed. Ethan followed, trying to mimic her posture. The Emperor's voice was deep and clear. "So, this is the human." Ethan stood straight. "Yes, sir. You're the one who exposed himself in a classroom full of my daughter's peers." Ethan blinked. "I volunteered for a biology project." A few guards chuckled quietly. The Emperor continued. "You revealed your body to dozens of alien females, including my daughter. And this triggered a biolock." Ethan swallowed hard. "I didn't know what a biolock was, Your Majesty." "Of course not. You're human." He stepped closer. "And now, due to this accident, Veltron law demands I consider you as a potential suitor." Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but Trina stepped forward first. "Father, I accepted the biolock. You cannot blame him for that." "Can do?" "Whatever I wish," the Emperor said firmly. He looked back at Ethan. "Tell me, human, what is it that you want? Do you seek our power? Do you wish to wear royal robes and sit in a palace?" "No, sir," Ethan said clearly. "I didn't ask. For any of this, I came to learn. That's all." The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Then, suddenly, he raised his hand and a glowing orb floated toward Ethan. "Catch," he said. Without thinking, Ethan reached out and grabbed it. The orb pulsed in his hands. His fingers tingled. It was a truth sphere. "Speak only the truth." The Emperor said, "What do you feel for my daughter?" Ethan stared into the orb. It glowed brighter as he spoke. "I'm still learning who she is. She's strong, smarter than anyone I've met, and brave enough to stand up in front of hundreds to protect me. I respect her. A lot." The orb glowed bright blue. The Emperor said nothing. He turned to Trina. "And you, daughter, why did you accept this human?" Trina lifted her chin. "Because he was honest when no one else was. Because he never tried to impress me. He showed kindness even when the whole academy stared at him like a beast. And because I felt something real. Oh, you taught me to trust my instincts." "I did." The orb floated between them, manned split in two. One half went to Ethan. One to Trina. The glow turned gold. A rare color. The guards gasped quietly. The Emperor stepped back. Arms crossed. "You have no royal blood," he said to Ethan. "No fleet, no council seat. But you have truth. And you have her." He turned away. "If this bond breaks, the shame is hers. But if it holds, then you'll carry our crest." Trina's eyes widened. "You mean?" The Emperor nodded once. "He is accepted. For now." He walked past them both and out of the hall, his cloak dragging power behind him. Ethan exhaled, barely realizing he'd been holding his breath. Trina turned to him. "You did it. Chess told the truth," he said. She smiled softly. "That's all you ever needed to do." Back in the academy halls, the news hit fast. Emperor accepts human bond. Truth sphere confirms golden glow. First human to ever be considered for Veltron crest. Alien students stared at Ethan in a whole new way now. Not as a joke. Not even as a curiosity. But with respect. And wonder. Ethan walked beside Trina, their steps calm and equal. "What now?" he asked. She looked at him with a smirk. "Oh. We survive the attention, and maybe find out what this bond really means." He smiled. "At least I won't be alone." The academy was never the same after that day. Every corridor Ethan walked through now felt different. Students no longer looked at him like a strange creature. Now they nodded in respect, whispered in admiration, and gave space when he passed. His name was known across planets, not because he was a hero, but because he had shown something rare in the galaxy: honesty, bravery, and heart. But it wasn't over yet. 1 week later, the Academy announced something unexpected: a final public demonstration Not for science, not for anatomy, but for unity. The message was clear. One human, one Veltron. One connection. A final proof of harmony between species. The request came directly from the Galactic Cultural Council. Professor Zelia personally handed Ethan the invitation. He read the words silently and asked, "Do I have to do this?" She smiled. "No, Ethan, this time it's your choice." He thought for a long moment, then nodded. "I'll do it, but not alone." The amphitheater was packed again. Students, scientists, leaders. Evan, the Emperor himself, sat in the front row. Giant holoscreens hovered above, broadcasting across systems. Ethan stood on stage. Not in a lab coat, not shirtless, but in a new robia color of Earth's oceans, trimmed with Veltron silver dot, and beside him stood Trina, wearing a matching robe. They looked at each other. She smiled. "Ready?" He grinned. "You're the scary one here." The crowd laughed softly. Then Ethan stepped forward. He didn't remove anything this time. No scanning tools. No glowing ORBS. Just his voice. "I came to this academy, hoping to learn about other species," he began. "I never expected I would become a subject of study, or that I'd meet someone like Trina." He looked at her. She saw me when others didn't, and even when things got strange, when traditions, fear, and politics surrounded us, she didn't walk away. She came back. Trina stepped forward next. "I was raised to lead, to follow rules, to protect my name." This human reminded me that real strength is not about control. It's about courage and kindness, and standing beside someone even when the world is watching. She reached for his hand again, and this time he took it without hesitation. The same soft golden light returned, wrapping around their joined fingers like warm fireflies. But then something unexpected happened. The golden light spread outward, across the stage, into the seats. A wave of calm, glowing energy washed through the audience. One student gasped. Another smiled tearfully. The light didn't hurt. It healed. It connected. Professor Zelia stood and whispered, "It's a harmony pulse." The Emperor rose from his seat, eyes wide. But that hasn't been seen in 1,000 years. A harmony pulse was a rare phenomenon, only triggered when two completely different species formed an emotional and biological connection so pure. It could calm minds, heal grief, and bring unity to entire crowds. For a full minute, the crowd sat in silence, bathed in the pulse. Then the light faded, and the room erupted into applause. Later that night, Ethan and Trina sat together in the garden, watching the stars. "You know they're going to want us to speak at events now, right?" Ethan said. "Probably," she replied, "and the council will want interviews." She nodded. "Mom, and students will keep asking to scan my DNA." She laughed. Ethan looked at her. "Do you think this will last?" Trina turned to him. "What? The fame? No, us." She leaned her head gently on his shoulder. "I think it already has." He looked up at the stars, some human, some alien, a petsonot. They all felt closer.